Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 10th meeting of the Honolulu Liquor Commission. It looks like we may be a little short-staffed up here, but we do have Commissioner Hong on Zoom. Commissioner Hong, can you hear us okay? I believe you may be muted. There he is. Commissioner Hong, are you by yourself this evening for our hearings?
Yes, I am.
Okay, excellent. I see that there are minutes to approve. Commissioners, may I have a motion?
Yes, Chair. Motion to approve the regular minutes of the 36th, 42nd, and 2nd meetings and the regular and executive session meeting minutes from the 44th meeting as previously circulated.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The regular minutes of the 36th, 42nd, and 2nd meetings and the regular and executive session minutes of the 44th meeting as previously circulated are approved. This time we will jump into our calendar for this afternoon under public hearings, calling agenda item number 1, application number 23-01565 from Lifted Spirits Corporation. Here, please come up. Good afternoon. Yep, there's fine. And if you could just state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Kebra Murphy, K-E-B-R-A, last name Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y.
Okay. Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicant has met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 1? Hearing and seeing none, commissioners?
I have no questions. Motion to approve application number 23-01565.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01565 is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving into our special license applications, calling agenda item number 2, application number 24-00415 from Mana Maoli, DBA Mana Maoli.
Hi, Rick Schneider, CEO of Events International, will be representing Mana Maoli.
Happening.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to announce that I am on a nonprofit board with the agent. This will not affect my ability to be fair and impartial in this decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Hong. That is so noted. So if you could just walk us through your event and the security protocols for your event.
Sure. This is sort of festival concert at Waikai, which is the entertainment complex now out in Eva Beach. It's a very large lawn and it will be completely contained. There will be a 21 and over area separated from the rest of the site. We have 31 security staffing the event. We're expecting probably 1,200 maybe. I don't think we're going to do much more than that. Other than that, I mean, it's fairly standard. EMT is there. There's a double barricade between the 21 and over area and the under area, so we can keep from anybody passing alcohol that way.
And under your floor plan, the green is the licensed premise. Is that correct?
Excuse me?
The green on your floor plan is the license.
Actually, the license area is slightly larger, and we do that so that we can bring the trucks with the alcohol in and park them in the lot, so they'll be on the premises and none of the alcohol will be off premises.
Thank you, commissioners.
So the only, I guess my one big question is, what are your ticket sales at currently? Because it does see a ticket, you were selling tickets.
250.
Okay, no, hey, just wanted, I know you had just 1,200, so yeah. We are a couple weeks out, so it's doing the job. Just what they
That's
said
what-
1,200, and if you're right at that, I was gonna say you
No,
might
we
be
were
a little
hoping
bit
for-
more than that.
We were hoping for over 2,000, but I don't think we're going to get there.
Okay. And then on
Go
the
ahead.
floor plan, your in and out area for the the VIP section or even the 21 and over section, people are gonna be making sure they're not gonna be bringing their drinks in and out, right?
No, everything
Okay.
must be contained within the 21 and over
Okay.
area, and there's security at every point. There might be an ability to move out.
Okay. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Oh, Mr. Schneider, will there be overnight parking in case of people that feel like they need to leave their car overnight?
Actually, we've made some arrangements with ride sharing and taxi people, so that we have a plan where we're going to offer that, so that if anybody needs a ride, to be able to manage that. And yes, you can park overnight.
One last thing. This is the first time, right? We're doing something in this new area, correct?
Yeah, we were contracted by Haseko to help them run these events.
Okay.
And this is actually one of the first of its nature, and we're planning on doing a lot more. Obviously, as we go, we'll learn more about how best to manage this.
Thank you. Motion to approve application number 24-00415.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00415 is approved. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 3, application number 24-00428 from Hawaii International Film Festival.
Rick Schneider, CEO of Events International, will be representing HIF for this event.
And could you just walk us through security protocol and just some summary details for this event?
Yeah, we have 26 security planned for this. It takes place on Cook and Pohokaina, and we've made an arrangement with the Parks Department to be able to license the park as well, so that patrons can move around once they did it. The event itself is this is the 4th year that it's being done. It's basically a family event. Goes from 4 to 9:30, 4 to 10 o'clock, and we'll have like people from the Youth Symphony and Ballet Hawaii and that sort of thing. And this is similar to the way we've run many events like this.
And this has seemed pretty successful in the past. Any issues in the past?
Extremely
come up?
successful, and we obviously have HPD working the exterior. We have the number that I gave out was only for private security. There's at least 12 HPD involved as well.
Thank you. Commissioner?
I have no question.
Mr. Schneider, the license area extends out across the street for the same kind of portability of alcohol?
Yeah, so in other words, the entire area includes all of Pohokaina that faces the park, all of Cook Street that faces the park, and then the perimeter is the edge of Haleakala. We're not going to be into Haleakala. We're closing Cook and Pohokaina, and then also having activities in the park. We will not serve beyond the halfway point. In other words, we won't allow alcohol to go ever of the halfway point in the park. We won't necessarily, it will be fenced, but it won't be fully fenced, but there are signs and there will be security to make sure that no alcohol goes beyond that.
I'm sorry, could you state your name for the record?
Sorry, Zachary Diano, event director of Festa Italiana, the event, the docket.
So the only comment I'll make is I see on the liquor license area, you have that parking lot that's across what kind of street over there, right?
No, that's not actually included. The border only goes along the street
Yeah,
because that little tag is, I think, privately owned. So
okay, so what you may need to do is based off the floor plan we have, there's red that shows that parking structure where it's a solid, almost like a solid square.
Yeah, you'd probably have an older version. of
So all I would say is if it's not going to be part of the licensed area, if you could please make sure the administration gets a corrected copy of the floor plan.
Yeah.
And reason for that will be if someone happens to be drinking over there on their own and it is a licensed space of you will
Fully
be
understand that.
held responsible, okay?
And so just so you understand, all of the tented area along there, that will not be accessible. And anything that would be will be fenced.
Okay,
So it will be completely contained only on the street.
okay. Thank you.
Sidewalk is open to the public.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions. Motion to approve application number 24-00428.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00428 is approved. Thank you. Have a good event.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 4, application number 24-00446 from Pools and Catering by Senior Blonde. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sheila O'Connell, Event Coordinator for Closing Catering by Sinu Blan and Authorized Agent.
Good afternoon. So first birthday parties today.
Yes. Party. We're done with the graduation season. Yay. So now we're going to the first birthday, which is approximately about 150. We've been seeing less than our numbers for first birthday parties lately. Oh, and Barb will be inside.
Mission.
So I know I make the comment all the time, but I will continue because we are using the courtyard and that's an outside space, okay? So if you can just make sure your guys or your security people are gonna be watching so people aren't passing in and out or passing drinks in that courtyard area. In the ballroom, it's way harder to do than it would be on the outside, so we can just make sure they're doing that, and that'll be that comment will be for both of your applications. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no other questions. Motion to approve application number 24-00446.
second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00446 is approved. Calling agenda item number 5, application number 24-00447 from Pools and Catering by Cena Blanche.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sheila O'Connell, Event Coordinator for Closing Catering by Sinu Blan and Authorized Agent.
Good afternoon. So this is very similar to the first birthday, around the same number of people and the same layout.
Yes,
Okay.
a little more popular.
Slightly more
20.
popular. shop. Commissioners,
There's no questions. Motion to approve application number 24-00447.
second,
been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00447 is approved.
Thank you for your time.
Calling agenda item number 6, applications number 24-00410-1 through 24-00410-30 inclusively from Aroma Cafe Inc.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the commission, Ms. Uri, Robert Weok on behalf of Aroma Cafe. Sitting to my right, Mr. Jonathan Rothman, she is the president. This is in request to extend the existing special liquor license. We do have a pending restaurant application was filed in May of this year. We have no problems with the special, during the term of a special license.
Thank you, Mr. Uyoka. Commissioners?
Only question I will ask is how have been this, how much or like how busy have you been? You've been pretty busy, going pretty well in
I
that
think we've
space.
been doing well, and it's a completely enclosed we're able to control it pretty well. We get outdoor dining permit as well, and that's been wonderful for us as an additional options for the customers.
Okay. Good. I have no other questions. Motion to approve application number 24-00410-1 through 24-00410-30 inclusively.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Applications number 24-00410-1 through 24-00410-30 inclusively are approved.
Thank you so much.
Moving into requests, calling agenda item number 7, request number 24-00461 from Devin Nakoba on behalf of Summer Rainbow LLC.
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Stephanie Cobra representing Summer Rainbow. And this is just to reallocate some of our temporary license days. what happened is the restaurant had to undergo some work, and so they haven't even opened yet. They're looking to open somewhere in October, like October 7th or 8th.
Hmm.
So we just want to see if we can move the dates because we haven't even been open.
So you have 99 days to reallocate.
Yes.
Commissioners?
If I could, so the agenda item, I guess, reflects an original desire to reallocate to start September 22. So you're amending that to,
September 22nd is fine, because
Oh.
they're the date that they were looking at was gonna be probably early October. So September 22nd is fine. I couldn't quite figure out how to eyeball it, and I wanted to make sure that they had enough time. Because we have to,
That's not a problem with losing days that you're going to still not be open.
yeah, I mean, we have to submit so far ahead of things that I was like, I better just eyeball this just in case. So,
So no changes in.
no, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Okay. Motion to approve request number 24-00461.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00461 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving into other business, calling agenda item number 8, request number 24-00453 from Keith Kiuchi on behalf of LD Waikiki LLC.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Kiuchi for LB Waikiki LLC. So the commission had approved a special license for 91 days from August 1st, 2023 through October 30th, 2023. Well, we couldn't activate the special license because we had to delete the hotel premises. So that's basically gone through licensing, sitting with administration, but we needed a really precise cutoff date, because right now LB Waikiki is running on the services agreement from the hotel. So for accounting purposes, something that is definitive, like end of the month, end of the quarter would work. So that's why we're asking that we activate our special license October 1, so the deletion would take place as of really September 30.
Thank you. Commissioners?
That can be all accommodated.
you're just taking action on Mr. Kiuchi's
Right.
request.
Okay,
The second, the related request will be handled separately.
okay. Motion to approve request number 24-00453.
second,
There a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00453 is approved. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 9, request number 24-00462 from Naomi Cole on behalf of Kamukura Hawaii LLC.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Naomi Cole on behalf of Kamakura Hawaii LLC. Present is Miyoko Yamauchi, authorized representative. We're requesting an extension until May 15, 2024 in order to do the final inspection and to pick up our liquor license. The permit was delayed and construction was delayed as well, and that's why we're asking for this extension.
And the 6-month period would be up by the end of this month. Is that correct?
I believe it's not up until about November, but we're just, I guess, requesting it early in advance because we know for sure we're not going to be able to pick it up until at least May. I provided the construction schedule along with our request. Shows that construction is probably not going to be done until end of April. So we just figured we might as well request it now.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
I have no question. Motion to approve request number 24-00462.
second,
There a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00462 is approved.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we will move into our adjudications for this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Daniel Jacob, Deputy Corporation Counsel on behalf of the City and County of Honolulu.
Good afternoon. Calling agenda item number 10, LCV 23-0076, Aloha Beer Company LP.
I'll represent to the Commission that Greg Nishioka represents the licensee. He's asked for a 1-month continuance. I think we have a date in October. I'm making a request on his behalf and I have no objection to his request to continue to the next available date.
Do you
So,
have-
just, FYI, in terms of the October dates, it looks like we only have one date setting available, which is October 12th.
I believe my office has spoken with Mr. Nishioka and asked him if that date's available. I can't remember if he responded he was or not, but we will try to get around that agenda, and if not, the subsequent agenda.
What's the next available?
Yeah.
session? Okay.
We'll
Agenda,
we'll shoot for October 12th.
okay, agenda item number 10 is continued to the next available calendar date. Calling agenda item number 11, LCV 23-0068, Antipastos Restaurant. Antipastos Restaurant. Good afternoon. Hi, could you please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Benjamin Lee. First name Benjamin, Benjamin, last name Lee, Lee.
And who's with,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and she's Su Jung Sin. She's the owner of the Steve Chicks restaurant. First name Sujeong, last name Sin.
Mr. Jacobs, can you please read the charge?
On or about February 1st, 2023, in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii, licensee made physical alterations within its licensed premises to wit, addition of 2 partitions, removal of a door, and reconfiguration of a counter without prior written approval of the Liquor Commission in violation of Rule 3-83-62 sub A of the Rules of the Liquor Commission of the city and county of Honolulu.
Mr. Lee, how would you like to plead? You can accept the charge, deny the charge, or plead no contest.
Actually, I just have a comment to make.
So you first need to either accept the charge, deny the charge, or plead no contest.
이거 받아들여요. 그러니까 원래 저희 그 계약하기 전에 발전에이션인 거거든요. 그러니까 저희가 그냥 처지를 받아들여도 되고 아니면 we accept the charge.
Okay. Motion to accept the plea.
Second,
There are motion and a second, any objections, reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries, the plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, what is your recommendation?
This is a first time violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Mr. Lee, you can make your comment or explain.
So Antipastos, the owner before was Mr. Kim, I believe. He made alternations before without noticing us before the contract was made between us. So I guess we took everything that was made before.
Okay. So Mr. Lee, who had the establishment prior to you, made the alterations to the floor plan.
Yes.
Then you folks took over or took the establishment,
Yes.
right? And then those changes were done prior to you getting the establishment.
Yes.
Okay. So do understand, right, that floor plans need to be accurate and correctly issued to the Liquor Commission so that we know whether or not there's what is actually in your licensed space. So has the floor plan been corrected and issued correctly to the Liquor Commission currently?
Yes, we were talking to I believe his name was he was a Japanese guy, but I forgot his name.
An inspector here you've been
Inspector,
talking to and have
yes.
gotten the correct floor plan to them?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion, but I also want you to understand that in the future, whenever you do take over a contract or something, you need to make sure everything is the same, right? Because technically you are now liable for that. Okay,
Okay, understood.
my motion is going to be to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 11.
second,
There are motion and a second, any objections, or reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries, a letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item 11. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys are staying there.
Oh, we have another one. Sorry. Calling agenda item number 12, LCB 23-0070 Antipasos Restaurant Inc. Could you please state your names again for the record?
Yes, my name is Benjamin Lee, BenJamin, Lee, the last name. And next to me is Su Jung Sin, Sujeong, last name Sin.
Thank you.
Mr. Jacobs, can you please read the charge?
On or about March 31st, 2022, in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii, licensee without commission approval transferred to another person the licensee's business for which the licensee's license was issued, either openly or under an undisclosed arrangement whereby such other person came into possession or control of the business or took in any partner or associate in violation of section 281/41 sub H of the Hawaii Revised Statutes.
Mr. Lee, how would you like to plead? You can accept the charge, deny the charge, plead no contest.
이거는 저희가 그 계약을 얼마 전에 미리 얘기를 하고 했었어야 했는데 이건 네. We accept the charge.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacob, your recommendation for agenda item number 12, please.
This violation arose out of a commercial real estate property and sale agreement that was dated January 14, 2022, with a closing date of March 31st, 2022. The file or the application for transfer, however, wasn't filed until June 2nd, 2022, which is beyond 30 days that they had to notify the commission. This is a first-time violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Mr. Lee, any explanations?
For that one, I didn't have any experience of opening a business, so I just gotta say I didn't know.
So I would recommend, like, if you're going to take over, if you're gonna take over someplace that's has a liquor license or things like that, you may want to contact the administration to get some advice or get some guidance in what things you need to make sure are done, because there is certain time limits that we have to know whether and who's actually in charge of the space. Because if a violation occurs, we don't want to be giving a violation to someone who is not actually the person taking charge of the space. Okay?
There's
Mr. Lee, is this in relation to the same transaction that you mentioned in the previous matter with Mr. Kim? Or is this a different transfer?
same.
And who was responsible for filing the transfer application? Did you file the transfer application or did Mr. Kim help you to file the?
At first, he signed Mr. Kim signed the paper, of course, for the transfer license. We use Alisa Wu, the agent, to file the application.
And there was a gap between March 31st, 2022, which was apparently the date under the documents. And I believe June 1st was the
June 2nd.
June 2nd was the date it was actually filed. Why was there a gap in time between March 31st and June 2nd? Was it?
There was a delay on the construction plus some renovations that we were doing. So plus we were trying to figure out how to apply for transfer application for liquor commission. So yeah, we just didn't know, and then we were trying to figure out in between three people. Yes.
Thank you very much.
One last question. Between March 31st, 2022 and June 2nd, 2022, were you folks open and doing business and serving alcohol, or were you just under construction, getting things ready?
We were open as a business, but we did not sell the alcohol.
All right. So again, my suggestion is going to be, we're going to be taking businesses with liquor and things like that. We want to make sure everyone is together and understands. So, it's a learning experience. my motion is going to be to issue a $250 fine for agenda item number 12.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A fine of $250 will be imposed for agenda item number 12. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 13. You're dismissed. You can go. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 13, LCV 23-0069, Giovanni Pastrami Waikiki LLC.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission. Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of Giovanni Pastrami Waikiki LLC. Appearing with me is Ryan Tanaka, member manager. We will waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest.
Motion to accept the plea.
second,
The motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendation for agenda item number 13.
This violation occurred on May 2nd, 2022, when the licensee failed to notify the commission of a change in management. The change in members was effective on April 1st, 2022. The licensee notified the commission thereafter on May 9th, 2022. This is a first-time offense. The recommended fine is $500.
Mr. Jacobs, before I ask, can you confirm it's 2022 only because on our
Oh, you know,
It's
I do, I
2023.
apologize. I miswrote my notes. It is 2023.
okay, so May 2nd, 2023.
Well, let me double check, but I apologize for that. No, it looks like the effective date of the notification was April 18th, 2022. On April 24th, 2023, the writer contacted the licensee. No, it's correct. The effective date of the changes was April 1st, 2022. And the notification reporting the changes was submitted to the commission on May 9th, 2022. So I didn't misspeak. I apologize for that.
Okay. Right, Mr. explanations.
Yeah, so this was a removal of members, managers from the company. Licensee did their best to submit the notification. Unfortunately, it was not timely. Licensee understands the rules. Administrative procedures are now in place to make sure this doesn't happen again. And you know, it was approximately 8 days late.
Only 8 days, Chris.
My motion is going to be to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 13.
second,
Got a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item number 13.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 14, LCV 23-0077, Gyukaku.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission. Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of Yukaku. Appearing with me is Pete Potente. He's general counsel for the licensee. We waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest.
I'm sorry, before we get to the plea, I have a question for the prosecutor.
Sure.
The stated applicant for this notice of hearing is Renz International USA Co. Limited, which is a corporation. However, the statutes cited under the notice of hearing is section 281-41E of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, which relates to partnerships and limited liability companies.
Correct.
The charge also lists the company as a limited liability company. Could you provide clarification as
Correct.
to why this was?
So I did have a chance to speak with the licensee's counsel, and I understand that the licensee is agreeable to amend the charge to cite the right subsection, which would be sub I.
Okay, well, first we should amend the charge to have it correct, and then we
I
can.
apologize, that's correct.
Okay, so you're amenable to amending the charge?
Yes, we are.
Point of order, do we need a motion to amend or
Yes, you do.
commissioners, can we have a motion?
Motion to amend agenda item number 14 to read section 281-41I. Is that correct?
second,
Wait, I don't know. if
Oh,
that's
sorry,
Oh, fine. Okay, sorry. 281-41I.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The notice of hearing is amended. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission, Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of Gyukaku. Appearing with me is Pete Potente, General Counsel. We waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second,
A motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendation?
So the record in this case reveals that there had been several changes in officers and directors without notification to the commission and at least 2 prior stock transfers without stock transfer applications ever being submitted. This is a first-time violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Should go to explanation.
Yes, so when the current owners of licensee took over the business, they worked to clean up all the officers and director reporting to the commission. A lot of what Mr. Jacobs is referring to is changes that were made by the prior owner that we weren't the licensee at the time. And so, you know, once our clients came on board, they did everything they could to clean up the record. This was back in 2017. Since then, the record's been clean and we have had no problems.
So do you have a date of when your group actually took over the liquor establishment?
I believe the change occurred, or when our clients took over as new owners, was approximately December of 2016. This was a huge transaction that encompassed many different states in the US. And so reporting was then done in 2017.
Okay. So currently, as of right now, right, everybody is correct. Everybody has been correct since you started or put the things in place going forward.
Yeah. So as soon as they came on board, they did the reporting, and it's been correct since 2017. It's only now that this
Yeah.
change was processed with the commission.
Mr. Jacob's question, does it show anywhere in there if the names of the names of the managers that were like on or off? Are they all tied to the prior owner? Does there any of your records show that?
So according to unsigned corporate minutes dated October 31st, 2004, Toshinori Hayakawa is identified as president and director, and Tomoyoshi Nishiyama and Yuichi Ochi are identified as directors. Subsequently, according to corporate minutes dated December 23rd, 2016, Toshirona Hayakawa and Toshio Iyashima were removed as officers, and directors Roy Tozu and Akitsugu Yamaguchi were appointed officers. I'm assuming that that's who the current officers are.
Okay, so glad to hear that it's cleared up and it's fixed and going forward. And mainly we want to make sure we have the right names on there. Unfortunately, those names happen to be the prior owner. So I am going to make a motion to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 14.
second,
There a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item number 14.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 15, LCV 23-0078, Gyukaku.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission, Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of Gyukaku. Appearing with me is Pete Potente, General Counsel. We waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest.
Motion to accept the plea.
second,
There a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendations for agenda item number 15.
Yeah, as I had previously mentioned in the prior case, this case revealed that there was 2 stock transfers that were failed to be notified to the commission. So the previous one was for the change of membership. This one is in regards to the stock transfers. It's a first-time violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Let's go to explanations.
It's generally the same explanation as the prior adjudication matter. These changes were reported when our clients took over the business, and it revealed prior changes that weren't reported, but it's been clean since our clients took over in 2017.
So the stock changes were changes that happened prior to 2017, or it was a stock change that was the change of the names of the stock from their company to your company?
If I may, according to a stock purchase agreement dated November 25th, 2016 between Tomoyoshi Nishiyama and Reigns International, seller shall sell and transfer its 13,000 or 13,500,000 shares. So that looks like it occurred November 25th. All these are parallel to the previous case and the transfers.
And
So it's essentially two violations occurring out of one transaction.
Correct. Because there was the change in memberships and then there was a change in stock as well. So both of those fall under sub I.
Okay, thank you.
okay. I'm gonna make it longer, but I'm gonna ask for us to deliberate. Motion for deliberation.
We don't, for adjudications, we need no motion.
Oh.
So the commission will now deliberate. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for giving us time to deliberate. Commission.
So, Mr. Gota, when you folks are taking stock over, you folks are taking the stock, you're paying for it, you're getting the stock, and you now become liable for the stock. So you need to make sure the names of who has that stock, who takes it over, is correctly reported to us. Other prior names, obviously, we don't, there's someone else, they should have did that for you, but you're spending the money to get this business, this stock. And based on that, my motion is going to be to approve the recommended fine, $500, agenda item number 15.
Second,
Then a motion and a second, any reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries with a fine of $500 to be imposed for agenda item number 15.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 16, B&V LLC.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission. Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of BNV LLC. We waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest.
And before we get to the plea, similar to agenda item number 14, I'll direct this again to the prosecution. B&V appears to be an LLC under the notice of hearing, but the statute cited under the notice of hearing is 281-41I, which refers to corporations. So it appears that that statute was incorrectly referenced.
May
I didn't catch this one.
Please.
May I respond? So I believe that this violation was issued to Island Distillers Incorporated, which ultimately was transferred to B&B LLC. And so the failure to timely report occurred while the licensee was held as Island Distillers Incorporated, which was a corporation.
Okay, so
I appreciate that. That's helpful.
I think what I'm hearing from you is B&B LLC, the current licensee, was not in fact the license holder at the time of this violation. Island Distillers.
Correct.
Corporation
However,
was the-
because it's a transfer, I'm here to take care of this.
I see. Okay, thank you very much for the clarification.
Okay, so you were going to make a motion, sorry,
Waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest.
motion to accept the plea.
second,
Been a motion and a second, any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries, the plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendation for agenda item number 16.
So in this violation, the stock purchase agreement was effective on February 1st, 2023. The notification was filed with the Liquor Commission on March 7th, 2023. It's a first time violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Wait, sorry, what are those dates again?
February 1st, 2023 to March 7th. So they were a week late.
A week late, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Go, did you have any explanation? Sorry.
Yes, so this was a tricky transaction. There was a transfer in process when my clients took ownership. And so because of the way the corporate stock or the buyout was structured, we needed to report changes to Island Distillers Incorporated. I filed the application, I believe on March 3rd, which was timely. However, after it was reviewed by the front counter, we realized we were missing one document. And so that document was then submitted on the Tuesday following the Friday when I submitted it on time. And so we are pleading no contest, but we had every intent to file it timely. It's just one document was missing.
The documents that were filed on March 3rd, 2023. I know one document was missing, but the documents that were filed, did they indicate that the change in ownership that is the substance of this?
Yes, it did. It just, we didn't include one additional form. So the form that I submitted on March 3rd did show that to the stockholder.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have any record of that, what other items came in different time periods. Mr. Jacobs.
The record to me does not suggest that something was submitted timely. The commission received the stock transfer advisory on March 7th. That's what the report. So I am not seeing any evidence that confirms or any indication that confirms the filing was on the 3rd.
Well, the charge itself references a March 3rd, 2023 date, is that correct?
Well, that would have been the date they would have reported, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So that would be the reference date that Mr.
that would have been the expiration of 30 days date, and then they didn't file until thereafter.
I see. So you filed it on the date that it was.
Yeah, so I have an email from a licensing clerk confirming receipt on March 3rd of the documents that I had emailed, but again, one document was not included, and so that was late.
Right. Just a point of order, Mr. I, when an application is submitted, I know there's a process for vetting that application to make sure that it's complete. At what point is it technically accepted? Is it accepted when you submit it, or is it accepted only when a clerk finds it complete?
It has to be deemed complete before it's logged in and accepted.
Okay, thank you.
I'll note that the stock transfer advisory, the actual form itself is dated by Zachary Reinman, the president, on March 6th, 2023.
Was that the document that was missing?
So. Based off what I'm hearing, right, Mr. Go through that, obviously, I know you tried to get in on the 3rd, you were missing an item. We also at the administration look at it, if not everything's added or there, it is not
Correct.
completely filed. My motion, because you're also getting stock. And my position was the same as a previous situation, right? My motion is going to be to approve the recommended fine of $500 for agenda item number 16.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? I'm hearing and seeing none. I would oppose. I would actually issue a letter of reprimand. So it would go to a vote. Is that correct, Ms. Ryan?
Because you're at 2-1, there's insufficient, okay. There's insufficient vote in order to affirm the 500. You would make another motion. If your intention is to suggest a letter of reprimand. The $500 fine fails.
But if it's a 2-1 with quorum, wouldn't that pass?
No, you have,
There's 2 aye and 1 nay. Wouldn't that pass under quorum? Yeah.
can because in the past, when we've had bare quorum, we've deemed it that you need a unanimous vote to take action. Can we go look it up? I mean, if Corp Counsel is willing to say that is okay, then I'll.
Putting court counsel on the spot, but I thought that with quorum, it would just be a majority vote with quorum present.
Okay. I'll stand down.
Okay. So the vote is 2-1. The motion passes. Fine of $500 will be imposed for agenda item number 60. Thank you. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 17, LCV 23-0071 YEMBCC LLC.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, the Commission. Keith Kiuchi for the licensee, waive read and charge, enter plea of no contents.
Motion to accept the plea.
second,
The motion and a second, and the objections or reservation. Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendation for number 17.
This violation occurred on August 10th, 2020, when the licensee failed to report a new manager. The appointment was done on July 9th, 2020. The commission was notified on December 15th, 2021.
Yeah, that's correct, because the licensee's attorney didn't know what was going on.
That's a recommended fine of $500.
But let me give you some context. So Macau Valley Country Club was owned by Pacific Links, was owned by Mr. Dushaw out of Shanghai. At its height, Pacific Links owned 13 golf courses across the nation. Now it owns 0. The last one really is Macau Valley Country Club, which has actually been sold. In 2020, they were in the midst of a pretty severe financial crisis. The person they brought in as a manager was fired, which resulted in Logan Weber, who's the offending manager, becoming the manager without notifying anybody, especially local attorney. But there was actually method to their madness, because they had to scramble and get some things changed around. The person that they fired eventually made a claim against the company in bankruptcy. The company is still in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So while it's inexcusable that they waited, over a year and a half, there were reasons why they were done at the time. I think that this was a company, frankly, in crisis in mid-2020. So
Were they, so 2020, you were kind of talking in COVID time
Yeah.
period, were they even running or open or doing any business?
they were, well, the golf course after COVID hit, like most golf courses, they closed down. So in April 2020, they had shut down. But the financial crisis that caused the downfall of Mr. Duchaud, I think preceded COVID, but was exacerbated. But by that time, in 2020, this was the last Hawaii golf course. At one point, they had owned, they owned a lease to Olomana, they'd owned a lease to Royal Hawaiian. They also owned another golf course here. And all of that was gone by 2020. But yeah, COVID kind of aggravated the situation, but the financial crisis really occurred well before that.
So I guess more my question is, so I know they reported it a year later, but August 10th, when it allegedly happened, right? 2020, were they even operating as
No,
a business or making, I mean, I guess like out there selling liquor?
no,
or
they
having a
weren't
business,
selling
right?
liquor, because if you look at the dates that the restaurants were allowed to reopen were in July, the golf courses were after that. So they
Okay.
weren't even operating. Yeah, that's correct.
So based off of, we're in a COVID situation, I make some of these types of motions because of those situations and things like that. My motion is going to be to approve the recommended fine of $500, suspend collection of that $500 for 1 year, as long as this licensee does not have the same violation occur within a 1 year period.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The fine of $500 will be imposed with the restrictions and limitations based upon the motion for agenda item number 17.
So before I go, I've seen a couple of the notifications on stock and directors. So I want to tell you what I do now, because I don't want to run into the problem whether the front desk accepts it. So I sent a formal letter saying the transfer of stock is going to occur on this date, or the change of directors or managers and members occurs on this date. And it's within the 30 days of the change taking place. So what administration has accepted that letter as a notification, because if I've got to go through, because I've got a stock transfer now that this lady had it 20 years ago, so there are documents missing. And I understand the front desk saying, okay, it's not complete, but that's what I've been doing because I understand what the issue is. So
Yeah.
there is a way to remedy that.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Mr. Kushi, and I think you're correct. The statute doesn't specify what type of notice is
Right.
sufficient. It doesn't
Right.
have to be a transfer application or something of that
Right.
nature. So a simple letter notice would be sufficient under the statute. So that's a good practice.
Yeah, and we started doing that with the Paradise transfer because that was an issue. So anyway, just for your information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuchin. Calling agenda item number 18, LCV 23-0074, 17A Productions LLC.
I'll represent for the commission that Greg Nishioka represents the licensee. He's asked for a continuance. I have no objection to his request.
Is that next available?
Yes.
Agenda item number 18 is continued to the next available calendar date. Calling agenda item number 19, LCV 23-0050, 17A Productions LLC.
Once again, Greg Nishioka is representing the licensee. He's requested a continuance. I have no objection.
Agenda item number 19 is continued to the next available calendar date. Calling agenda item number 20, LCV 22-0053, Kinso Tay. Good afternoon. Could you state your name for the record?
Helen Galmichi, HDLEN. Galmiche.
Good afternoon. So agenda item number 20, LCV 22-0053 is before us today for a contested case. Are the parties ready to proceed?
Yes.
Good, okay. We have some procedural matters to get through first then. First is the evidence and witnesses. I see we have in our file a prosecution exhibit A. Prosecution, is that your only exhibit?
Correct.
Was that timely submitted?
Yes, it was.
Okay, did you have any objections to their exhibit?
No, I don't know what that is.
So it's the documents that I emailed you a long time ago, which consist of the
Investigative reports.
Yes.
Prosecution's exhibit A is received into the record as evidence. I do not see any physical or written evidence for the licensee. Do you have any? No, okay, that's not a problem. Moving on to witnesses, prosecution, do you have any witnesses?
Sure, I'd like to make a quick opening statement, if you don't mind. Opening statement?
We'll do that after witnesses.
Oh, okay, sure. I'd like to call William Walker.
No, I'm just asking, do you have witnesses?
Yes, I do have, I'm sorry, I do have a witness,
Okay.
William Walker.
You have one witness,
Yes.
William Walker. Was that
Yes.
timely disclosed?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses this afternoon? Okay, just yourself, you'll be speaking on behalf of the licensee.
Right.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the structure for this contested case hearing is we'll have opening statements. So the prosecution will have an opening statement and then you'll have your chance to add an opening statement. That's not evidence. That's just an opening summary of what this case is about. So each of you will have the opportunity to do that. We will then move into witnesses. The prosecution will be able to call their witnesses and have their witnesses testify. You can, as the licensee, ask rebuttal questions to those witnesses once those witnesses are done. We would then shift to your witnesses, which is only you in this case. So we will swear you in as a witness and you can tell your story. And the prosecution will have a chance to ask you questions. At that time, we will wrap up with final statements and then the commission will deliberate on the matter. Everyone understand?
So if they have one witness.
Mhm.
And there were 3 investigators and 3 investigative reports. Can I question the comments made in the reports?
You can ask questions to the witness that's before us. There'll be no other witnesses, so you couldn't ask the other individuals directly. But you can make your own comments to the reports if you want as your own testimony. Does that answer your question?
I think so. Thank you.
So for opening statements, we'll start with you, prosecution.
Thank you, Commissioner. This violation is alleged to have happened on March 26, 2020, when the licensee failed to immediately prevent or suppress any violent, quarrelsome, or disorderly, lewd, immoral, or unlawful conduct of any person on the licensed premise. What you'll hear from the investigators today is that they arrived to the scene after 2 a.m. They realized that individuals were still on the licensed premises. And when they entered into the licensed premises and tried to complete their duties, customers became irate and engaged in a confrontation with the investigators. Although the city is happy to admit, and you'll hear that the licensee did attempt to step in, the problem was that she wasn't able to suppress the problem. The law requires her to be able to suppress the problem, not to attempt to suppress the problem. In this event, her attempt failed and therefore conduct constitutes a violation. And that's all I have for my opening. Thank you.
Thank you. You may have an opening statement.
So the citation actually reads, fail immediately to prevent or suppress any violent or unlawful conduct. And the second I heard that there was a confrontation or a commotion, I ran over to the incident and I stepped in front of the ruly customer and I stopped him from getting violent. Also, if you look at the rule, which is 28178B6, states fail to timely prevent or suppress, which I know I did it in a timely manner, but I actually think I did it immediately. But the citation says fail immediately to prevent, and the rule states fail to timely prevent. So the words immediately and timely is, I think, subjective. And I actually thought I stepped in immediately. And according to the report, it says that they arrived on the premises at 2:05. 2:09, they called in, I guess Fontaine to call HPD. So within that time, I don't know when the altercation started, but as soon as I heard an argument, I ran over there. I stepped in front of this 250-pound Polynesian man and put myself in harm's way to protect the 3 liquor commissioners. And the last time I did that and I stepped in front of a big Polynesian man, I was thrown in the booth and almost banged my head. Fortunately, I didn't, but I actually responded immediately and I tried to protect the liquor commissioners. The Ray's report specifically says that after he walked in, he said he walked towards the 2 large Polynesian customers.
I'm sorry, do I need to swear Ms. Galmichi in
Oh,
if she appears?
No, you don't, but this is just an opening statement. You'll have a chance to elaborate on your arguments
Oh,
later.
okay.
Because I need to
This is
swear
just
you
a
in if
kind of a
you're gonna-
Oh,
summary
I see.
statement
Thank you.
of your
Okay.
case. Yeah.
So I think this part is important in my opening statement because in Ray's report, he specifically states he went up to the Polynesian customers and identified himself that he was from Liquor Commissioner. And it's in his report, and not in one report did any of the investigators come up to me and say they were liquor commissioners and they were on my premise. And I have to mention that it was loud and it was busy that night. Because I don't know who from the city and county or state decided to lift the mask mandate Friday night at 12 o'clock, which turned into Saturday, March 26th. Everybody was coming in late to eat. It was, I guess, so excited that the mask mandate got lifted. And people started walking in late and I said, it's in like 1:30, 1:15. I said, excuse me, we're gonna close. And they said, we're just here to eat.
Sorry to interrupt. I do want to emphasize it's a summary because what you're saying is good,
Mhm.
but it's not evidence in the summary stage. It's
Oh.
only evidence when you're sworn in and talk about it. So I don't want you to say
Oh.
too much in the summary and then not say it when it's actually
Thank
testimony
you.
evidence.
I appreciate that.
I'm
Thank you.
trying to shift your, I don't want you to not
Have to
say it. I just want to
repeat
shift it to
Thank you.
the argument itself. But I do think we're capturing the summary of your case. Prosecution, we can move into witnesses. I believe you said you have 1 witness to call. You may do so now.
Correct, I call William Walker.
I swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you give at today's hearing will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Could you please state your name for the record?
William Walker?
Mr. Walker, are you employed?
Yes, I am.
Where are you employed?
I work for the Honolulu Liquor Commission as a licensed investigator.
Did you have another job title before you were a licensed?
Yes,
investigator?
I was enforcement investigator on the enforcement side.
Did you conduct a compliance inspection at Shinchote as part of your duties on March 26, 2022?
Yes, I conducted basically an after hours compliance check on Shinsote on that day.
Who are you with?
I was with Investigator Reyes and Investigator Pierce.
Is Investigator Reyes still employed with the Liquor Commission?
I believe he isn't.
Is Mr. Fears still employed with the commission?
As far as I know, he is.
Can you tell me what the circumstances that led you to inspecting Shinchote that night?
We do after a certain license that we go look at are licenses that have to end sale, service, and consumption of liquor after 2 a.m. So we were assigned to the District 5 area, which is Chinatown, Kalihi, District 1 it's kind of a mixed area. We were driving over in that area near Shinsote and we saw several cars parked in front of the establishment, maybe indicating that it was still open. So we decided to park there and observe and see if we saw customers exiting as they were closing down, or if there were more customers coming in.
What time was that?
That was approximately 2 a.m.
So you arrived on the scene at 2 a.m.
Yes, approximately.
And what did you do next after you saw what you saw?
After talking with investigator Pierce and investigator Reyes, who had a better vantage point because I was in the backseat, they saw movement going on inside the bar, and we decided to go in and see if all sale and consumption had stopped.
Did all three of you enter the bar?
Yes, we did.
And what did you see at that time?
I was the third one to enter, and so I was still towards the front of the bar. Investigator Reyes and investigator Pierce were towards the back of the bar. I noticed about approximately 8 people with various alcohols in front of them, to include like green bottles and cups with amber colored liquid.
And this was past 2 a.m.
Yes, it was.
Did anything alert you when you were in the licensed facility?
I wasn't in there very long before I heard a commotion coming from the rear of the bar, so I directed my attention towards that, and it looked as 2 male customers were kind of yelling at in the direction where investigator Pierce and Reyes were.
And how did you know they were customers?
They were on the bar side of the bar.
And what did you do next?
I made my way over to see what was going on and to try to de-escalate if possible.
As you approached them, did you come to learn what was happening?
I was apprised of the situation by investigator Pierce, who said that investigator Reyes had secured an alcoholic beverage container, and in the process of that, he was confronted by a customer and yelled at.
Why would have investigator Reyes have tried to secure a beverage?
If it was a bottle of beer, he might have thought that was the best opportunity, or the best instance of after hours, and that was the alcohol he wanted to secure as evidence.
Did you try to insert yourself between the customers and the investigators?
Yes, I did.
What happened after you tried to insert yourself?
The male customer was intent on getting to investigator Reyes, so he was kind of reaching over me to get to him. And I was kind of in between them to try to stop that.
Can you explain the physical conduct that the customers were engaged in as you try to insert yourself?
They were threatening verbally, and they were making kind of like aggressive movements towards investigator Reyes, and then of course us, because we were in between them.
What were they saying?
I believe the wording was they threatened to sleep us and then take us out in the parking lot, and words to that matter.
I'm sorry, you said threatened to sleep you?
Sleep us, I guess that's a term, maybe knock us out. I don't know the exact meaning of that term.
Was Miss Galmici at the licensed premises that night?
Yes, she was.
Can you tell me what her involvement, if any, was in this instance?
At some point during the altercation, her and either a customer or another employee was able to insert themselves between myself, investigator Reyes, investigator Pierce, and then the disgruntled customers.
And what happened after she inserted herself?
She was telling them to knock it off and leave, and I guess it was becoming kind of problematic that investigator Pierce contacted our supervisor, and she was able she contacted HPD.
Was Miss Galmici able to suppress the situation?
Because the customers went outside and they continued after the fact, that extended the premises, so no, she did not.
So Miss Galmici inserts herself. How long did the incident continue to last thereafter?
I can't say for sure, approximately 4 to 5 minutes.
And you mentioned that 911, the police department showed up.
Yes, they did.
Do you know why or how the police department came to be to show up?
They were contacted by supervisor investigator Fontaine to come and basically help us with the situation.
Why was Miss Fontaine contacted to contact the police department?
Well, we contacted her, and then she felt that there was a danger to the investigators and that HPD needed to be there to assist.
And who is Catherine Fontaine?
She's the supervising investigator of the enforcement section.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. You can cross-examine the witness, and what that means is you can ask the witness questions that are related to the testimony he just provided. You can't ask questions that extend outside of his testimony.
I should be sworn in now.
You don't have to be sworn in now. You're just asking questions to the witness, and the witness is sworn in, and the witness has to provide truthful statements to your questions.
Okay, so that evening of Friday, when when the three of you walked in of different times, it shows that you walked in at 2:05. And at 2:09, Fontaine had already called HPD. So I'm not sure exactly what time I got there, because I got there like as soon as I heard there was a commotion. And because it was towards the back and a lot of people were still eating their late night dinner, I didn't realize that there was a commotion until I heard the arguing. So when I ran there and I
I'm sorry.
walked in front, well, I wanted to ask him if,
Yeah, you can ask him, just be a little bit more concise with the
Oh.
questions. You'll have your chance to talk about your
Okay.
experience.
when I stepped in front of him and I said, stop, I heard everybody saying liquor commission. Do you remember when you came in that you issued or showed me a badge that you were with liquor commission?
I was the last one in and I don't know if I did or not.
Yeah, I don't remember anyone, so when I went there, I didn't know until I heard the yelling and I heard liquor commission. Now, when I got there and I stood in front of him, there was no threat that he was gonna hit anybody. I didn't see anybody actually step in front of him besides me. Sure. Maybe you do.
I can
But
ask the license.
My question is, you don't think
Questions.
I suppressed the situation? Or stopped it from escalating?
In my opinion,
Yes.
I believe it. HPD having to come and then also de-escalate in the parking lot shows it wasn't
Yes.
fully suppressed.
Right, I totally agree with that. But until they came, I was the one who had to stop him from getting violent. If Ray's felt that his life was in that much danger, if I didn't stand in front of him, something would have happened. I stood in front of that irate customer and told him to back off. Do you remember that?
I testified to that, yes, I did.
I guess I have no further questions. for you. Thank you.
Do you have any rebuttal questions for them?
No.
Okay, commissioners, at this time, we can ask any questions we have to the witness. I have a few questions while everyone else is thinking. To your knowledge, based on looking at the situation, who was present for the licensee other than
I'm not
was there other
100%
security?
positive. I do know there was another attending helper there.
And how quickly in your recollection did I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Ms. Galmichi.
Galmichi, I'm sorry. Did Galmichi interject herself into the altercation?
Probably 1 to 2 minutes or less.
In your recollection of the events, was there a threat of violence before she did so?
I can't recollect that. I just know there was a threat of violence that happened.
You may have just answered that, but do you feel as though in your recollection, there was a threat of violence after she inserted herself?
Still, yes, because it got confronted out in the parking lot still.
Before it went into the parking lot, did you see any noticeable change in the customer's conduct when she inserted herself and told them to knock
I
it off?
think at that point, once they found out the liquor commission was there, a lot of customers tried to close their tabs and kind of exfil, so they didn't have to be around that situation. They kind of like wanted to avoid it, it looked like.
I mean, I'm sorry, I mean the customers who were involved in the
Oh,
altercation.
the 2 customers. Eventually they made their way outside. We stayed inside and were told to wait there till HPD got there just for our own safety, as they were still out in the parking lot waiting for us. And they had made the earlier threat that they were gonna take us out in the parking lot, so.
So they exited the premises and waited in the parking lot. You stayed inside until HPD.
Arrived, on
Arrived.
scene, yes.
And then by the time that was resolved with HPD, had they left? Had they been arrested? What happened? with the
No, there was no
individuals?
arrest made. There was no police report filed, but they, we were, we stayed with HPD until those 2 customers left, and then we made our way back to the office.
So you said, I believe in your testimony, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you did not believe it was, the altercation was entirely suppressed because they remained outside. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yes, I do.
Okay, what in? How would you define that? Because in one sense, them being outside and you being inside did cool the situation. So in your mind, in the moments. as
It'd be
you
more
realized-
the actions of the licensee to protect us. They weren't the initial to call the HPD. They weren't there. The HPD arriving is what basically ended it, so we were able to leave safely. So in my opinion, I believe that. So if HPD wouldn't have been called, maybe something more would have happened, and HPD was called by Investigator Fontaine.
After the individuals went outside, what was the interaction between you and the licensee at that point?
I think I wasn't the primary, so I think I was just kind of watching outside, making sure nothing else happened, and that would have been Investigator Reyes as he was informing her of what happened. And what violations were being or took place.
Is it correct to state that after the individuals went outside, the people remaining inside were relatively calm?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have for now. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I have, oh, go ahead.
I only have a couple of real quick ones. So, Mr. Walker, have you been to Shinshote prior to this incident happening when you were in the investigation enforcement side?
I have.
Do they have any type of, I don't want to say bouncer, but other security measures other than this sorry, we're all gonna mess this name up at some point, sorry. Besides herself or her employees, does she have any other type of?
I don't recall any doorman or any kind of security personnel.
Okay, and their dispense is still 2, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I have no other questions.
Mr. Walker, you said that the license area was extended by the customers leading into the parking lot. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. While you were waiting and you have this violation submitted, were other violations submitted for this evening?
There, I don't believe any violations were written till a later date. We were instructed not to write any violations at that time due to investigator safety.
My question relates to, were there other violations recorded for the evening, that evening?
Recorded, no.
Okay. But how many people were still in the bar potentially consuming alcohol at 2, after 2?
Approximately 8.
Okay. And were they all with the same group of the 2 customers that had the altercation, or were they
They
multiple?
appeared to be separate groups.
Okay. And do you think that Ms. Galmiche's actions to put herself between you helped to de-escalate potential violent actions by the customer?
I can't say whether it did or didn't, because I don't know the effect if she didn't.
In your opinion, do you think that she was in danger of violence to herself in her actions?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
I have one other question. I believe you just said that you had some experience with this establishment in the
Yes.
past. In your experience with Shinsote in the past, has it been a lively place? Has it been a relatively normal restaurant? What's your experience with it in terms of?
It's just it appears to be a smaller bar, just like kind of just, maybe less than 20 people total would fit in there, and they just go there to have a good time. I've never had an encounter like I've had before there.
Thank you very much. I believe we have all of our questions satisfied, so you may step down.
Is this finished?
Nope, huh? No, well, just that one witness. Do you have any more witnesses or will you close? Okay, thank you. You may, you'll be sworn in and then you can tell your side of the story.
Okay, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you give today will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you.
Go ahead.
My time.
You're up.
Well, I was actually gonna ask him when he mentioned something about some beer bottles. So I just wanted to say that the waitress on duty that night is Natalie Cook. She's very diligent in making sure that all alcohol is up before 2 o'clock. Sometimes she has to grab it out of their hands at 1:55, and she will. Although she's like 90 pounds, but she's very diligent about her job. She did make sure that all the alcohol was up. I did not serve anybody alcohol after 2, which was stated in one of the reports. I did not serve anybody. And when I looked, I did not see any alcohol. So when he says there were about 8 people drinking, I think he got mistake with the report that says when they walked in, there was about 8 people sitting on the right booth. That's the group that came late and wanted to eat late at night, but they were not there to drink. They said, we just came here to eat. So there were no alcohol there. I don't know if he got mistake with that 8 and you said there was 8 alcohol, because I was behind the bar, everything came in. And like I said, it was very noisy and it was very loud because I think people were celebrating that mask mandate deal. And then all of a sudden I heard that commotion. So it was like, I didn't see any alcohol when I looked around. Because I always look at 2 o'clock. I even call my kids. My kids work behind the bar. I called them up at 1:55. And I said, are you guys making sure all the alcohol is up? And they said, yes, ma, stop calling. But I always check. And I didn't see any alcohol there. I'm trying to think where he was talking about Heineken's. And because our place is so small, a lot of times at the end of the night when we're putting all the bottles away, it's right against the wall near the bar. And so there's like about 6 cases of beer bottles in there. I don't know if somebody grabbed one. I have no idea where that bottle came from. I did not serve any alcohol after 2, and I did not see any alcohol after 2. And I could have called my waitress as a witness, but I don't even ask witness customers to come as witnesses, because after like a long day's work, they get stressed out at work, they get stressed out at home, they come to a bar to unwind and have a few beers. I don't want to succumb them to a hearing like this. It's very intimidating. And then they have to take off from work. This is the 3rd time I'm here for the same case. So I would ask them to come and be a witness for me, and they'll have to take off from work 3 times. And every time they're sending me home. So I said, I have the report. There's a lot of statements in the report that does not make any sense or is not accurate to me. And I'll just stick to that. And I won't ask customers to come into a court hearing. And since we're on that subject, just a quick note. I was in business for like 17 years before I came into the bar business. And if you had a supplemental report dated prior to the report you're writing on, it would invalidate the whole reports. So if you look at Ray's report, his investigative report is dated April 19. Ray's report, I believe, was dated April 2nd. And I think Walker's was dated March 29. And the 2 supplemental reports that's supplemental to the original report is dated 2 or 3 weeks before he wrote his report. That to me invalidates the reports from what I would be told when I was working from the state and the city and county, that it's not valid. Why are there reports, the supplemental reports to this report dated before Reese's report? And I think I need to mention the timelines that the liquor commissioners have in the reports is very crucial because as Walker stated, they felt that they were in danger. So they didn't want to find me that night because they felt they were in danger. So they came back 4 days later to give me a citation. But if you look at the timeline, HPD came at 2:15 as reported in the investigative report. So I would say within 5 minutes, everybody was outside because I would be the first one to call 911. They insinuate that I didn't want HPD to be called, but I would be the first one because the minute PD walks into that door, everybody calms down. Everybody who's angry, belligerent, they all calm down. And everybody just stopped talking, everybody stopped arguing, and they all went outside. The liquor commissioners, now 2:15 HPD arrived. The liquor commissioners left at 2:40. And according to Ray's report on page 3, he specifically states that HPD stayed and waited till the liquor commissioners were safe and left safely. So why are they saying in the report that they were so afraid of their lives that they couldn't write me a 2-minute citation? And they came back 4 days later. And I said it was a little loud, but by the time HPD came and everybody went outside, it quieted down. As I was cleaning up, the 3 investigators sat in a booth for about 10 to 15 minutes. And if you look at the timeline, they left at 2:40, HPD came at 2:15. That's 25 minutes. The liquor commissioners sat in their booth and had a meeting. And what I heard, and I don't know who said it because there were 3 of them, but what I heard was she protected us. She stood in front of that guy and protected us. She was on our side. We can't give her a citation. And they thanked me and they left. That's Friday night, Saturday, 2 a.m. Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday, they come walking into Shinchote with about 3 or 4 investigators. I didn't know this, but the customer said there were about 4 others outside. They came storming into Shinchote like they were SWAT, and they treated me like a criminal. And they said, "We're gonna cite you." I said, "For what?" And he said, "Because you didn't help us out." And I said, "I did." And, "Oh yeah, we know you did, but we're gonna cite you." And it took them 1 to 2 minutes to write that citation. So how can they say they were so afraid for their lives that they couldn't write me a citation and decided to write me a citation 4 days later? So I'm thinking this is not how liquor commissioner operates. So I don't know what happened in their minds during the weekend. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm guessing I'm in my 60s and I'm standing in front of 3 grown men and trying to protect their lives. And I'm not sure what the liquor laws say, but is that part of my responsibility as an owner to protect the lives of the liquor commissioner? And I've been there 35 years. Most of the liquor commissioners are very respectful. And if I did something wrong, they will cite me nicely and they will go. But this liquor inspectors came in like yelling and flashing their badges to the customers, and the customers said they were harassing us. That's why they reacted. That's what they was telling me. I didn't really hear the argument. Like I said, it was too loud in there. As soon as I heard that there was an argument, I ran over and I stepped in front of that guy, and nobody else would. He was a big guy. I was putting myself in harm's way. And I'm actually not only hurt, but I'm also insulted that they're finding me to not being there any quicker than I could have been. And that's what they're finding me for. They're not finding me for anything else, but I didn't immediately respond, which I think I did.
Take your time.
So I guess to just finish that summary, I just want to say that after the HPD went outside at between 2:15 to 2:20, and they left at 2:40, the liquor commissioners did have ample time to cite me. And they felt that there was no imminent danger to themselves or anybody, because they said the HPD was waiting until they all left safely. The police officers never came in and told me we arrested anybody. Nobody got arrested. So I think the belligerent behavior and, oh, we were so threatened with our lives is a little exaggerated, because I've seen a lot of altercations in the bar, and that was not that big. He was just really yelling. He wasn't throwing his body around or making, he was yelling, saying, why are you guys harassing us? Basically, that's what he thought. Oh, because we're locals, you're harassing us. That's basically what the whole thing was about. It's a little bit racial, like, why are you bothering this little local bar and why are you harassing us? That was the gist of what I got from that situation. But there was no body language and I'm gonna beat you up. I didn't see that. I heard the yelling and I ran over and that had stopped. I think I pretty much stopped him because I don't really know that guy personally. He's only been around a few times, but he's really a mellow, quiet person. I've never seen him act drunk or belligerent at any time that he was there. And he was just saying, they're harassing us. And the only thing I can see while reading the report is they were going on flashing the badges to the customers. Hey, I'm liquor commission, I'm liquor commission. And so that's why he revved everybody up that way. And I didn't even see the badge. So I didn't know until I heard the yelling and I heard a customer say something about liquor commission. So as far as all the negative comments that they say in the report, I look at my fine, my citation, and my citation has nothing to do with anything, but I didn't respond immediately. And like I said, I think that word immediately and timely, which is in the rule book as timely, not immediate, I think I did what I was supposed to. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to do that because I did put myself. I looked at that man, I said, he could fly me right now because I've been flown before. I knew that could happen, but I didn't care. I said, these are liquor commissioners and they're here to do their jobs. Back off. And then Ray's actually used my language and put it in his report. So I'm just saying that I tried to the best of my ability to protect the liquor commissioners. The last thing I would want to do is to have any kind of problems with the liquor commission. I do respect before Salah because there's a lot you have to do. And all the years that I've been here probably 11 times for hearings. And I didn't agree to everything that you folks decided on, but in actuality, I said, you know what? They really try to be fair. Sometimes I didn't agree with your decision, but that's your decision. In general, I thought the commission was very fair. When I got the citation, I was baffled. 4 days later. And I've heard a lot of things on the streets about liquor commissioners harassing people. I'm a small family bar. There's a lot of bars that's telling me they never come to my bar. Why are they always at your place? Are they harassing you? I asked them once during the pandemic. They came to my place about 6 times within 3 months. And I get intimidated with that, of course. But I went outside and I said, excuse me, is there any reason why you guys are always coming to Shinchote? And he said, oh, we got a complaint. So it could be a disgruntled employee, disgruntled customers. Customers get belligerent and drunk. They get 86 from Shinchote. People know that. So the people that are getting 86 because they're doing the wrong things are the ones calling in. I don't know, but every time they come, the liquor commission is telling you, you're fine, but we're getting the complaints, we have to come and check. But, and that's why a lot of people think that I'm being targeted and harassed. That's what people think. And I don't know if it's because I always come here and fight my case. And they tell me, get an attorney. I said, why am I gonna explain to an attorney what it's only gonna double time for me? I'll just explain it to the liquor commissioners. I said, because as far as I know, they've always been fair. But I think sometimes the commissioners out on the street maybe have to be vetted too, as well as us, you know? All right, I think I'm turning.
Okay, take your time.
So I guess maybe I'll just say one more thing. Sorry.
Of course, please.
So, you know, they kept referring to bottles of beer. And I cannot verify any of the statements that they made. But one of the statements in the investigative report shows that they grabbed bottles from the table. One of the investigative report said they grabbed the bottles from the bar. He said there were 8 bottles. I didn't see any of that. So I don't know, looking at the investigative report, the date of the report and the date of the supplementary reports, I don't know if this was doctored because I pled not guilty. I really don't know. And to backtrack, they're coming 4 days later to cite me. They didn't cite me the night of. I've never had that before. I've always had them cite me that night. And I specifically heard them say, we're gonna let her go. She protected us. She was on our side. We're gonna let her go. And that's the last I heard until they came storming into Shinchote 4 days later, making me feel like I was a criminal when I stood in front of them and tried to protect them. And they acted like I was a criminal. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kamichi. Do you have any cross?
I do have a few.
You have a few questions for you.
Ms. Galmichi, what time do you close?
At 2.
And
Well, I close at 2, but the liquor commissioners had told me before, as long as your alcohol is off the tables, if they're finishing their food, they can stay. If they're finishing their songs, they can stay. As long as there's no alcohol after 2. That's what I was told.
so you admit all this happened after 2 a.m. Correct?
Oh, yes.
And I believe your testimony today has been that after 2 a.m. Your facility was still loud and
Yes,
and
and I,
noisy.
yes, and I explained that because of the mask mandate. And I've never seen that many cars in the parking lot. Last night I closed at like 12 o'clock. I mean, we're not that busy till 2 o'clock in the morning. And I tried to figure out why it was so busy and why there were so many cars. And I said, the mask mandate. Everybody was so happy that they lifted the mask mandate. And so they all came in to eat. So the bar was like half full with people eating in there, not drinking, eating.
You're aware that intoxicating beverages can result in people acting violent or disorderly
Yes,
and lewd, correct?
yes, I think that's pretty obvious.
In fact, you said you've experienced fights in your
Mhm.
facility, correct? And you've had to 86 people, which
Right.
means you bar them from coming back. Given all this, do you have a bouncer, a security guard at your?
No, and like I said, we have a really small bar and normally it's not that busy. You know, like you'd walk in and there'd be like 8-10 people in the bar. But that night it was extremely chaotic.
Did you have any reason to believe you should have called 911 that night?
Well, actually, until I got there, I didn't know what was going on. I just heard loud voices. And because there were so many other people talking and eating in there, I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I heard like somebody was yelling and I said, oh, shoot. So I ran over there And by the time I got there, he was like yelling at the liquor commissioners. And if I left at that instant, I think something would have happened physically. Because I actually put my hand in front of his chest and I said, back off. And I had all the customers in the back of him and nobody jumped in front of him like me. I was there by myself trying to stop him. And I think I calmed him down because he was looking at me and he said, they're harassing us. And he was like talking to me. He wasn't yelling and threatening at that time. So I think I diffused the situation.
You mentioned you had another employee on staff that night, is that correct?
A waitress.
Did you tell the waitress to call 911?
I don't know where she was. She was 90 pounds. I think she was hiding.
Did you direct anybody to call 911?
No, because I didn't think at that time I needed to. A lot of times people argue, you don't call 911 as soon as there's an argument. Soon as they talk loud to each other, a lot of times I actually go there and diffuse the situation because they all call me auntie. So I guess they don't want to hit me. They think I'm an old Hawaiian lady. So they usually back off and I usually get it squared away. And thankfully, HPD came in while I was doing that. HPD came in and everything just silenced down. I was so glad.
I have no further questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for the witness?
So first, Ms. Yamaguchi, I'd like to thank you for, I think in the both testimonies we've heard, yours as well as the investigator. You did due diligence to get in the middle of, in between a situation. So I would like to thank you for your ability to do that. My thing I am going to say is my question for you is, I know your bar is small, but based off some of the testimony you've stated, you've been pushed around a little bit yourself. Do you think that it might be wise to think about certain times having someone as a doorman or a bouncer? So you're not putting yourself into that position?
You know what is really interesting? My nephew looks like a bouncer. He's like this really short, stocky guy with tattoos all over. And when he's there, you would think that he could just de-escalate the situation more. But actually, when they look at him and he tries to confront the situation, they want to fight more. When an old, overweight lady like me goes in between, nobody wants to hit me, apparently. And they actually go, okay, auntie, sorry. And the guy that I did, 86, by the way, he was following the liquor commissioner outside and recording them. So the investigator came to see me and I said, I don't like this kind of stuff at my bar. He's 86 already, you know? But sometimes when you get a bigger guy there, it really escalates it more sometimes.
I mean, I'm only asking you that only because I don't want you to get hurt. You know, you're the licensee and, you know, you own the bar. We want you to protect yourself just as much as you're protecting the commission when they go in there, your other customers, things of that nature.
Thank you. I will take that into consideration. Okay. Thank you.
The other question I had is, so you had stated, right, that you don't remember any bottles being anywhere or any of that stuff.
Right.
You guys also stated though that there is an area on the side of the bar where bottles are stored.
Right.
Are those bottles full bottles
It's
or empty
supposed to
bottles?
be empty.
Okay.
But sometimes the customer will go to the bathroom
Okay,
because it's on the way to the bathroom
Okay.
and they will just throw their bottle in there.
okay,
Thinking when it's empty, but you know, when sometimes it's not quite empty,
okay,
there's a little in there and they just throw it in.
okay. Because you might want, I'm not gonna say change that style, but you might want to have something in front of that so people can't do that.
Can't do
Because there's this is just possibility. You might have had a situation where somebody put a bottle there and he went to grab that bottle. And then these are all possibilities, right? And that becomes something
Right.
different. Okay, so that's
I'm thinking of another place we can.
it's just an
move it to.
idea, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously when you have something right there, people may start looking at that. Is that full
Right,
bottles?
right,
And
right. No,
after you've collected,
yeah,
people may want more.
and it's right there where everybody is passing by.
Okay, that was the only two kind of questions I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Hahn, do you have any questions?
Yes, Ms. Galmiche, I also want to echo Commissioner Holdinger's thanks for assisting with the inspectors at that time. It is unfortunate that you were put in that position. You did mention that the patrons that were in the altercation, are they currently 86 from the bar, or do they still continue to come to the bar?
No, I haven't 86 anybody. That main customer that was confronting the liquor commissioners, I hardly ever see him.
Okay, but has he subsequently come to the bar?
I'm sorry,
Has he subsequently appeared at your
I'm not sure
bar?
because of my age, I'm only there like 2-3 nights a week. So I don't see a lot of the people that do still come.
Oh, but you haven't ever seen him return to the bar since the
You
altercation?
know, sometimes they wear hats and sometimes they don't, and they kind of look alike, and I might have seen him at one time, but he never came up to me and said anything, so I wasn't sure he was the same person. But as far as 86 in a person, for me, it has to be someone who causes a lot of trouble or fights with people. And from what I've seen, I didn't hear the whole confrontation. I only know what the liquor commissioner said in the report. From what I heard was he was saying, "Why are you harassing me?" And he didn't touch anybody from when I was there, and he was just yelling. So normally I wouldn't 86 somebody who just yells at somebody. And so I didn't 86 him, no, because I didn't see everything what was going on that was in the report. And as I stated, there's a lot of things in that report that was inaccurate. I don't want to say they put false statements, but there were a lot of inaccuracies. So I'm just going according to what I seen and heard from the customer. And based on that, I didn't 86 him.
Okay, thank you.
I have a few questions as well. I think a few of them are related to the bar itself. We've heard testimony that it's a relatively small bar, 20 or so people fit in there. It's a relatively local bar. Would you say that most of the patrons are locals that you see on a fairly regular basis?
The majority.
You've characterized the bar as one that's typically not too rambunctious. Typically, I think you mentioned midnight is a cutoff when most people are
Right.
exiting. 2 a.m. is not typical. Is that accurate on most days?
I think ever since the pandemic, I would say the weeknights we usually close by 12, sometimes 11. And the weekends is the only one that is kind of hard to close that early. We usually close at 2.
You stated that, this particular night was rather loud. And you've also stated that there are other incidents in the past that you had to step in and de-escalate a situation. How common would you say that is?
Well, that man that I stepped in front of, I was there 35 years. That was like maybe 30 years ago. So as far as like physical altercations, not much in the bar. There's a lot of people that come and they look at us as a family-oriented local bar. So they're not there to make trouble. If I see anybody who makes trouble, I tell them, excuse me, there's 100 bars out there. You're welcome to go there. Don't come here if you're gonna come and make trouble. So not too many. I think if you just look at the police report, we don't have too many calls in. Sometimes there's people drinking outside that's not even from our bar. Because Walgreens closed down, the parking lot is empty, people party in the parking lot. And I tell my workers, that's gonna make me look bad, like they came from Shinchote, but they go out there like they're tailgating. So I guess I should call the property manager and tell them that they have to beef their security. I don't know.
I'll move into kind of some specific questions for this particular matter. You mentioned in your testimony, and I just can't quite recall what you stated, but you stated something to the effect of the investigators were waving their badges and kind of revving up the situation. Did you see that personally, or is that something that people told you?
People told me, and Ray's report says he flashed his badge to the customers and said, "I'm with the Liquor Commission."
Okay.
And that's in his report, but he didn't flash it to me.
I know you stated that you didn't immediately see what was going on. It took a few minutes for you to understand what was going on. At the moment you understood what was going on and saw that there was
Mhm.
some sort of altercation happening. From that moment, how long did it take you to jump in front and say, hold on?
I would say 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
At that time, did you think you were doing this because you were de-escalating the situation and
Yes.
protecting the?
Yes, I did.
When you did that, did you think you would be able to de-escalate the situation by using words, calming him down?
But let me recheck. When you say when I went there, did I think I could de-escalate it? Actually, I didn't think anything at that moment because I didn't know what was happening. And a lot of people do argue and talk loud in the bar. So I didn't know I would have to de-escalate anything. I just ran over there and then I heard him yelling and I heard the customer saying liquor commission because nobody showed their badge to me. So I heard that from the customers. Then I said, hey, back off, you know?
You stepped in, you said back off. I'm sure some other things were stated to the customer. At one point, the customers left. I think both sides have said this.
I think all the customers left when HPD walked in at 2:15.
Okay, that was gonna be my question. So
Yeah.
HPD walked in and then those
2:15, right.
customers walked out at that time?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's when the bar pretty much cleared out.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong or interject anything you need. But you saw an altercation, you stepped in to de-escalate or to first figure out what was going on,
Yeah.
then to de-escalate. HPD came in, they left. Are we correct so far?
Right.
Okay. At that point, did you feel as though the situation had de-escalated?
Oh, yes.
I believe you may have answered this already, so apologies for duplication of questions, but before and during the time that you stepped in, was there any point in time that you felt you should have called HPD?
Everything happened so fast. And at that moment, my main concern was to prevent him from attacking anybody. So the last thing on my mind is run and get my phone and call or yell at somebody. My focus was on him. And I just said, you need to stop this. And my whole concentration was on him. And seems like just a few minutes later, HPD was already there. So I de-escalated it from the time that I got there to HPD came, which was, I don't know, a few minutes, I think. But if I was to leave and try and call HPD, I think it would have gotten worse. That's my opinion.
You stated in your testimony that someone stated, although you don't know who, she protected us. Although you don't know what individual specifically did it, is your testimony that an investigator that night said that?
Yes, they were all sitting on a table.
I have no further questions. Commissioners, any other questions for the witness? I don't have any.
No.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll move into a final closing arguments. You can just summarize the case and we'll start with prosecution.
Thank you, commissioners. I'd like to begin by clearing up the timeline. All three investigative reports began their duty on March 25th, 2020. And of course, as I think the liquor commissioners know, that investigators work into the next day. So all the reports indicate that on March 25th, 2020, at approximately 1900 hours, they started their shift. It wasn't until past midnight and therefore March 26th or 26th that they showed up to the bar. In regards to them coming back on March 29th to issue the ticket, there's nothing that prevents liquor commissioners from coming back. In this case, you've read the report, you've seen the reports, they felt threatened. There's nothing that requires them to issue the violation that night. And so on that night, it's more reasonable to conclude they were fearful of their safety and they wanted to leave the premises and deal with the violation later, which they appropriately did. But generally speaking, liquor commission investigators have a duty to enforce the laws that are in law and through the regulations of this commission. You've heard that on March 26, 2022, that after 2 a.m., liquor investigators realized there was activity on a bar. So therefore, they rightfully entered the premises to determine whether there was regulations or laws being broken. Upon entry, and in their attempt to do their job, in this case, collect evidence, alcoholic drinks from individuals, an altercation ensued. And I don't think there's any doubt that an altercation happened. And I don't think there's any doubt that Ms. Galamici inserted herself in an attempt to dissolve or suppress that altercation. But as I mentioned in my opening statements, licensee has a duty to actually suppress, not to attempt to suppress. The licensee's admitted that she's aware that intoxicating beverages can lead to disorderly conduct, violent conduct, and lewd conduct. And that's exactly what happened here after 2 a.m. when liquor should not have been served. Her attempt may have been an attempt, but the law doesn't say that the licensee shall attempt to immediately prevent or suppress the conduct. It says that she shall suppress the conduct. And in this case, she failed. Licensee has the ability to hire bouncers, knowing that intoxicating liquor can lead to disorderly conduct. It's not only is it a violation to not be able to suppress this sort of conduct that is anticipated when drinking. It's also in regards to her safety, as the commissioners have pointed out. So in this case, her attempt fell short. She was unable to suppress. That constitutes a violation and therefore a violation of the rules. Thank you.
Ms. Calici, you may provide a closing statement.
Okay, as far as your closing statement, you said I served alcohol after 2. I did not serve any alcohol after 2. So that is incorrect or a false statement. And then you say the liquor commissioner didn't give me a fine that night because they were worried about their safety. When HPD was waiting for them outside and said, we're not going to leave until you are safe and you can leave when it's safe. They sat in my bar while the HPD was waiting for them for 15, 20 minutes. They sat in my bar and had a meeting. They could have easily written me a citation because when they came back on Tuesday and they walked in, it took them less than 2 minutes to write me the citation, less than 2 minutes that they couldn't write in 25 minutes at the night of the incident. I don't think they feared for their lives. There was no imminent danger. HPD stayed until everything calmed down and until the liquor commissioners left. And the liquor commissioners knew that they were in safe hands because HPD would not leave until they left. So they saying that they were afraid of their life and so then they didn't cite me is really a false statement. And as far as me suppressing or attempting to suppress or immediately, I don't know what language I'm supposed to use, but I did the best of my ability to prevent these 3 liquor commissioners in getting hurt. That's honest. That's an honest thing that I'm saying. And I stood in front of them. I wasn't worried about somebody calling 911. The liquor commissioner responded right away. I wasn't worried about me running and getting my phone. I was worried about making sure that no fight, no physical altercation was gonna happen. That was my concern. And as I said, I'm very hurt and insulted that they're finding me for not jumping in there any sooner when I couldn't have jumped in any sooner because I didn't know that they were there because they never showed me their badges. And as soon as I heard the altercation, I ran over there. Took me, 15, 20 seconds. And I stayed there listening to this man yell about being harassed until the HPD showed up. I was there the whole time. I would not have let him hit them. I would have got hit first. That's how I felt. I stood in front of him and I said, no. And I think that's very hurtful and insulting to me. And I really respect your comments. And as far as what I went through, I appreciate that. But as far as the citation, I'm baffled. I've been here 11, 12 times on citations. I know when I belonged here and when I didn't, and I don't know why I'm here. I think that's all I have to say. Unless you have any other questions.
Hopefully we have any other questions. At this time, the commission will deliberate on this matter. Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for giving us time to deliberate on this matter. The statutes at issue in this matter is Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 281-78. And it reads in pertinent part, at no time under any circumstances shall the licensee or its employee fail to timely prevent or suppress any violent, quarrelsome, disorderly, lewd, immoral, or unlawful conduct of any person on the premises. There's a lot that the parties have agreed through their testimony in this matter. And I think fundamentally, there is concern, of course, at any time when investigators go into a premises that they are safe and that they can conduct their activities with the feeling that they are safe. And there are several parties and interests that would have a duty to try and prevent or suppress any altercations. Of course, the licensee has a duty under the statutes to prevent or suppress. I think the investigators, of course, have a duty in the conduct that they have for themselves to make sure that they're not conducting themselves in a way that would increase any likelihood of violence or disorderly conduct. In this case, the question is whether the licensee failed to timely prevent or suppress any violence, quarrelsome, disorderly, lewd, immoral, or unlawful conduct of any person. In this matter, it's not in dispute that the licensee stepped in at the time that she was made aware that there was an altercation. She stepped in front of the customer and in between the customer and the investigators. I think both sides testified to that. I think both sides testified to the effect that her doing so puts herself in jeopardy and helped to alleviate the altercation. I believe that both sides of the testimony said that HPD was called and HPD came. And that after HPD came, the individuals went outside and the situation was essentially suppressed at that point. We believe that the conduct of the licensee was proper. There wasn't much else that we saw under the facts and testimony before us that would lead us to think that the licensee didn't timely prevent or suppress this conduct. The licensee stepped in as soon as she could. She was not the one to call HPD. That was stated by both sides. But the statute doesn't say that she has to exclusively be the person to timely prevent or suppress. Of course, others can step in and assist in that case. And in this case, that happened. And when HPD came, it's clear from the record and the testimony that the situation was at that point suppressed and the HPD was able to handle the situation moving forward. And in our opinion, that's the point which the licensee had no further obligation in this particular instance. Again, we do understand there is a need for investigators to feel safe and to enter into premises with the knowledge that the licensee and his employees will step in if needed. And we believe in this case that occurred. Commissioners, any further comments or type of action?
So I'm gonna make one comment, Ms. Yamaguchi. Thank you very much for the actions you did do that night. I would say that in thoughts of having some ideas for future. I know you say during the weekdays, you guys close around 11 or 12, but on the weekends, it's usually till 2. And sometimes that's when it's probably your busiest. For your own safety and those of your family that you now have working there, you might want to have someone, not so much be a bouncer, but someone there when those types of situations happen that can have you or your family's back as the licensee. Okay. Yes, thank you. My motion is going to be to not find the charges sustained for agenda item number 20.
Second.
There a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The allegations are not sustained. And that concludes this matter. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners. We are going to recall agenda item number 16, I believe, LCD 23-0075 B&B LLC. Corporate counsel, is that the correct agenda item to recall or any?
It's number
commissioner?
16.
Okay, thank you very much. So recalling agenda item number 16, LCB 23-0075 B&B LLC DBA Island Distillers. At this, the hearing for this matter that we did previously this evening, there was a vote for a fine of $500 should be imposed for agenda item number 16. There were 2 commissioners in favor and 1 opposing that motion. There's 3 commissioners present. That is and does constitute quorum. However, we believe that the rule states for motion practice that a majority of the total commissioners, not just those present, have to vote in favor of a motion. So corporate counsel, if you could clarify that statute, please.
Yes, Chair. According to HRS 28113, with regards to quorum and voting, a majority of all the members of the commission or board shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business, but the affirmative vote of a majority of all the members shall be necessary to determine any matter before it. So that would require, in this situation where you have 5 members and 3 per quorum, you would require for any 3 positive votes or affirmative votes to affirmatively vote for what matter is for you. So in that situation, because you had 2 for, 1 against, you failed to have the 3 votes necessary, so that motion just failed.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. So for agenda item number 16, the motion that was made, in fact, failed. And so a fine of $500 will not be imposed for agenda item number 16. I will note for the record that B&V LLC is not present at the moment, but they are not prejudiced by this clarification since they are no longer going to be fined. Anything else for the record, corporate counsel?
No.
Thank you very much. So moving back into our calendar in other business, agenda item number 21, liquor administrator, administrative matters, Ms. Farai.
I don't have anything to add to the report I circulated earlier today. Administrator Patilos is in the audience.
Mr. Patilos, anything to add? Welcome.
Sal Patilos, Administrator of the Honolulu Liquor Commission. If you don't mind, I would like a couple of minutes.
Of course, please proceed.
As you know, our primary focus at this time is trying to, in addition to all the other things that go on within the agency, is trying to ensure that we respond to the recommendations that were made in the systems review that was conducted by Wei Chen. First of all, let me introduce Darren Matsumoto. He's a current hire, special assistant who will be helping us assist the agency in its efforts to implement recommendations of the system review. Internally, we hold bi-weekly meetings to obtain status reports about the steps taken in with regard to the recommendations made by Wei Chen. And additionally, we are going to meet monthly with the Deputy Managing Director as well as Wei Chen to discuss the status of our efforts with regard to the recommendations. I just wanted to let you know that I've met with several council members, and they were council members Say, Cordero, Tulba, Boyer, DeSantos Tam, and I'm scheduled to meet with Council Member Okamoto as well as Chair Waters in the next couple of weeks. It's been really helpful because they've actually gotten me in touch with some associations in the community, and I've been trying to reach out to them. I've been able to speak to the Hawaii Restaurant Association, the Retail Merchants of Hawaii, the Waikiki Business Improvement District, and also I'm trying to set up a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce itself, all in an effort to obtain feedback about their members' perception of the regulatory environment and our operations as it impacts them. And another matter in terms of recruitment, we finally, the chief investigative position was posted and that closes on the 9th, I believe. And in terms of what Wei Chen discussed about postings not being on social media and so forth, we note that the postings were on the DHR's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn feeds. So hopefully we'll get an interesting set of candidates for that position. Additionally, and I think more critical for us is the position description for Liquor Commission Investigator 1, which that's been changed so to allow for candidates to be placed on a day shift. We are in the final stages of getting that approved, and hopefully once that's done, what we'll do is place that in continuous recruitment, given the number of vacancies in that position. If there, I just wanted to give you an update on those particular recommendations, but if you have any questions in regard to anything else, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Commissioners, any questions for the administration?
No, not at this time.
No, thank you very much for the report. So do you think we would be just for the commission itself, you would be giving us these updates at the end or just maybe monthly or some kind of timing like that?
I think the thing that I find is that sometimes the process is slow.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I know when it comes to the position description itself, it's taken a few weeks to get to the point where we're close to be able to post it. So it's still going through a review process at this point. And we meet, as I said, we meet biweekly, and sometimes there's really no movement on certain things. We do know, like, for example, but we do know we're trying to make sure that, like when it comes to policies, there's always some kind of movement. And in fact, Darren's going through the process now, ensuring that the policies that currently are on the books, as well as the administrative directives, are being directed to the correct sections, so that the teams can look at those and begin to redline and so on. Again, we're trying to get a feel of how long that may take. From my personal perspective, I'd like that to be done by December, but I'm willing to change that based on how the teams progress. But it is one of those things that, there's nothing sexy happening, but there are things happening.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.